Our guest today is a highly sought-after men's dating coach. She has built a multi-seven-figure business in just 3 years, almost entirely organically through her Instagram, where she reaches over 5 million unique men each month. You may have seen her in the New York Times, Wall Street Journal, Forbes, or on Shark Tank. Blaine Anderson, welcome to the Fieldswell Podcast.
Lauren, thank you for having me. I need you to give that intro every time I walk into a room. That was great.
You deserve it. A quick flashback to the day we met.
Yeah.
I think it was around 2 years ago at the Hotel St. Cecilia pool in Austin. I saw you walk in and I immediately knew I wanted to be friends. You
I felt
shared,
the same way. I remember your Chanel Tevas.
oh my gosh.
So cute.
You shared you were a men's dating coach, and I've since watched your business completely explode. I'm so proud of you, and everyone, especially men, need to go follow Dating by Blaine on Instagram.
Thank you. I appreciate that. It's been a journey, but it's been a fun one. And I'm so proud of you. I love everything you have built and taking on these new projects. Like, it's really inspiring.
Thank you. It's so fun to now be connected via this platform and to really dive into your story.
Yeah.
So let's go back to the beginning. What inspired you to start Dating by Blaine?
Yeah, so I've always enjoyed giving dating advice. I love love. Back in the schoolyard days, like who likes who's crushing on who, was always the tea I wanted. And after college, I lived in New York City, and that was right when dating apps were becoming more popular. It was no longer weird to meet a stranger on the internet. It was becoming more of the norm. So I would help my guy friends with their dating app profiles. I would see their profiles, and I know them. I know these guys. I'm like, you're an awesome guy. Like, why aren't you getting dates? And then I'd see their profile and be like, oh, well, here's our answer. You look like a serial killer. This is not doing you justice. So I'd help them fix up their profiles, and they would get more matches. So then they'd recommend me to their friends. So I would just kind of help people on the side. I worked in the travel industry. And so when the pandemic hit, my business evaporated essentially overnight. No one was traveling. No one was planning more travel. And I didn't know when that would be, a lucrative or relevant career again. So I started thinking, okay, what could I do in the meantime that could make me some money that I enjoy doing? Dating, I'd always, been interested in giving dating advice, helping men out. So I thought, okay, like I think there could be something here. And that's when I had the idea for my course. So my boyfriend at the time, who's now my husband, he was the one who had put the idea of a course in my head. He said, why not? You've been giving these guys dating advice. Why not just create a course? You can give it to more people at once. And that was really the launching point for Dating by Blaine.
So amazing. How would you describe your ideal client avatar?
That's a good question. So my ideal client and then like who I see the most of, or maybe they're actually fairly similar. I would say my bread and butter client is who I refer to as the engineer. He may or may not actually be an engineer, but usually works in a technical field, is smart, is interesting, has hobbies, has relationships with family and friends, but their dating life just isn't living up to everything else in their life, and they want to change that. And that's when they come to me, and those are my favorite clients to help because they already have so much going for them. It's just this one area of their life, and this area of their life could be at zero. They might be literally going on 0 dates with women they're interested in today, but if they have these other components, there are some tweaks that we can make to have them living a thriving dating life and not a lot of time. And that's always really rewarding to see.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm sure men love coming to you. I'm so curious what some of like the most common challenges you find straight off the bat, like things that you look for to help these men with.
Yeah, I would say some of the common things that I just see over and over again is the unwillingness to stick their neck out. So dating requires getting outside of your comfort zone, especially if you want to get off the apps, which I recommend. You can absolutely use apps, but you can't only rely on apps if you really truly want to have a thriving dating life. So if you want to meet women in person, you are going to have to stick your neck out there a little bit, do things you're uncomfortable with, talk to strangers. And that's usually that's one of the most common things I see in clients that they just aren't doing at all when they come to me.
They're not taking action.
Yeah, they're not taking action, but even more specifically, their action isn't oriented in the right things. Maybe their action is oriented in like, oh, I'm going to update my dating app profile because that's not scary and that doesn't require putting yourself outside your comfort zone. Whereas walking up to a woman on the street or in your workout class or on the subway next to you and talking and striking up a conversation, I get it, is really scary, but that's how you're going to meet more people in real life.
I was going to ask if you suggest, your clients start meeting women on apps or in person, or a little bit of both?
Definitely a little bit of both. I like to say that 80% of your effort should be spent offline and 20% of your effort should be spent online. So when I work with a client one-on-one or he takes one of my courses, we definitely cover the dating apps because it's a great way to get in front of more people that you wouldn't otherwise have access to. So let's definitely make a great dating app and put it out there in the world, into the world, and make sure you know how to use dating apps effectively. But you can't rely on it as your sole method for meeting women because simply dating apps don't cater to everybody's strengths. And if they're not catering to your strengths, then there's no point spending more time on them. You need to diversify what you're doing.
And what are some good spots for men to meet women aside from at the local bar?
Yeah, so a lot of my clients are what I call fire pit guys, not velvet rope guys. And what I mean by that is like a velvet rope guy is a guy who might be really good at meeting women at bars and clubs and in loud environments where you need to be charismatic and gregarious and outspoken to get attention. That's not usually my client. Most of my clients are fire pit guys who thrive in smaller, more intimate environments where they can have one-on-one conversations and get to know somebody. So we want to look for more fire pit opportunities to meet women. And that doesn't necessarily literally mean a fire pit, but it could. It means finding places that are going to play to your strengths. So if you love yoga and you're really into fitness, then fitness classes or yoga could be a good place. If you hate working out, okay, that's not going to be a good place for you to meet women. You should probably still start working out, but like that's not going to be some place you're comfortable approaching people. Maybe you're more of an intellectual, so going to bookstores that is hosting author speaking events or a book club is going to be some place that you are going to feel confident and be able to thrive. So for each person, where it makes sense to meet women is going to be a little bit different because you want to find the intersection of where you feel your best and where there are also going to be women. Just because you feel your best playing video games doesn't mean you're going to be able to meet a woman there.
It makes a lot of sense, though, to be strategic about it. Think
Yeah.
about what you enjoy doing, what you're good at, and where you like spending time and focusing on those zones.
And where the type of woman you want to date spends time.
Yes. I'm all in on the yoga studio and the boot camps. I know you met Owen at Barry's, right?
I met my husband at a fitness class.
Yes. After coaching thousands of men, what's one common misconception women might have about men and dating?
I feel like I often see women generally being like, oh, guys don't want anything serious. Guys are not willing to commit. And those women are focusing on the wrong guys. There are a lot of really, and I hate this word, but nice guys out there who want a partner and who are going to make a really good partner, but today just don't know how to market themselves in a way that showcases that to women. And that's what I'm out there like trying to teach them how to do. So these women will give them a chance. But what I would say to women is, give the nice guy a chance. Give the guy who you maybe don't feel the initial spark or romantic connection with, get to know him a little bit more and give that a chance to build. Because for both men and women, chemistry doesn't always happen overnight. And sometimes the best relationships really do build over time. And some of the worst relationships are the ones that have that fiery, intense chemistry right from the beginning.
It's so true. Many of us are looking for the spark, the butterflies, the excitement, but oftentimes that doesn't always last. And almost that slow burn is the best thing to be looking for.
Yeah, especially if you're looking for longevity.
Yeah. So gender roles are evolving. how can men and women best navigate modern dating dynamics in regard to like who should approach who should take the lead? I think oftentimes women are waiting or men are waiting, and it's like, how do we navigate this dance?
Yeah, so that's something I hear from clients all the time, that they are scared about approaching women, or they're scared about taking the lead because they don't want to be perceived as creepy, and they don't want to misstep. But then, like you said, women are then they're waiting, like, oh, like the guy needs to approach me first. Like I'm never going to approach, and then we end up in this awful situation where nobody's approaching anybody and no one's meeting anybody. So I teach my clients, like I teach men who are looking to date women. So I skewed towards advising them to assume a more traditional role. Not because that's what's right or because that's what's fair, but that's what generally is going to get you the best results. If you're waiting for a woman to make a move or take the lead, you could be waiting forever. So take control of the situation, approach women, pay for the first date, ask her for the second date, open the door for her. And not all women are going to expect that or even want that, but then you can cross that bridge when you come to it. Be open to conversations about expectations and gender norms. But in my experience with men, going in with the expectation that you need to be leading is going to be beneficial.
I think so too. If we go back in time, like the caveman days,
Yeah,
like the hunter, the protector, the provider,
exactly.
women want to feel safe.
Totally. It's evolutionary biology,
Yeah.
if you really think about it. The
Right.
woman wasn't, going for the guy who's like the meek in the corner and like giving all his like well-earned, hunting meat to other people. She's going with the guy who's going after what he wants, who takes control, who builds the fire, who's the provider.
Mm-hmm. It's so true. Thinking of like a first date and you're looking for the woman to split the bill. It's like, okay, how does this translate into when we have a family? You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
like, if this is how it's all starting.
Yeah, I think it's just polite. It's just good
Yeah.
manners. And people, that's like a hot, controversial topic. Like, who pays on the first date? And it's like, first of all, you should be planning first dates that are affordable. Like, you don't, especially if you met online, this is like a literal stranger. So you shouldn't be taking her to a 4-course dinner. You should be grabbing drinks at your favorite dive bar or like taking her, to like your favorite casual restaurant. So it should be something that is well within your budget to just pick up because you're the one who invited her on the date generally anyway.
Mm-hmm. So those are some of your good recommendations for a first date.
Yeah, I personally think first dates should be kept very lightweight. And I hear some girls say like, "Oh no, like I have to like it better be like a fancy restaurant and like that sort of thing." But I think that's really silly from both angles, both parties. This is not somebody you know, so why do you want to commit to spending hours and hours with them or over investing in them? It's like, let's just do a vibe check. When you
Mm.
meet online, I actually think the first time you meet should be date 0 and it's like just a vibe check. And then your next date is like really the first official date. If you met her through friends of friends or you have a class together or you already know each other, sure, going on a dinner date is a nice first date. But if you really don't know each other, then I think it should be shorter and easier.
Yeah, a lot less pressure too.
Yeah. Like sitting across from somebody in a stuffy restaurant is not like where at least I feel the most comfortable.
And do you suggest that, say, this couple meets online on a dating app? Do you suggest they do a phone call or a FaceTime in advance of meeting in person?
Honestly, no, I don't suggest it. I know if you're exceptionally busy and you're both out of town, like maybe you need to start there just to make it happen. But as a general rule, I think if both people have put sufficient effort into their profile, you know what you need to know about them. And then you're not going to learn that much more on a phone call. Like you really need to get them in person to understand if there's a connection because a phone call can be misleading. You might have a FaceTime and be like, oh, like, not into it, and that where if you would have met in person you'd be really into it, or vice versa. You have a phone call and you're like, oh my god, she's amazing or he's amazing, and then you get to the first date and it's like womp womp because you've built up these expectations too high.
That's very true.
What do you think? Do you do FaceTime?
I think that I like the idea of like a call or a FaceTime, but that's more so as a qualifier. And I'm with you with what you're saying is that like that can lead to expectations and you build up this image of who you think this person is going to be based on all the information you gather in advance of meeting. And sometimes that energy can be totally different in
Yeah.
person.
Yeah. And I get it from like a woman's perspective too, like for safety, but if there's like ever a question that this person isn't who they say they are or like doesn't look like what they look like, then it's probably best to just skip it anyway.
What are some traits that men can focus on and develop to attract a quality partner?
Yeah. I think the number one is confidence. Just exuding more confidence, both in how you carry yourself and how you speak, goes miles and maybe takes you the furthest with dating. And a woman is going to look at you and she'll draw on so many different aspects to understand like whether or not you're confident on a subconscious level. How you hold yourself, how you stand, where your hands are, the cadence of your voice, the intonation, all of these things are going to be telling her how to feel about you. Your level of confidence tells her about how she should feel about you. If you're down on yourself and uncertain, then she's going to feel uncertain and down about you. Where if you are rocking it and you know you deserve a really awesome woman and that you bring a ton to the table, and that's also going to tell her how to feel about you. So if you're at a place, and I work with guys all the time who are like really low in their confidence, I actually say like take a step back from dating because you're going to attract a much higher quality partner if you first work on yourself and build to a place. You don't have to be perfect on the confidence. You don't have to be 100% confident 100% of the time. None of us are. But you need to have a baseline that you feel pretty good about yourself.
I think it's so important to do the inner work and to know who you are and to feel good. And like, I'm ready for, to attract a woman into my life. And
exactly.
Yeah.
If you're coming from a place of scarcity and wanting validation from a woman, you're not going to, you may be able to attract some people, but the type of person who's attracted to that isn't probably going to be also like a confident, well-adjusted, mature individual.
Can you share a few red flags to look out for when dating someone new?
Yeah, so I think the most common one that both men and women ignore is just effort. Effort equals interest. So if someone isn't putting effort into communicating with you or to meeting up with you or to planning dates, they're just not that interested. And both men and women they give excuses like, oh, they're busy, oh, they like had bad past relationships, and whatever their reason is for not putting in effort doesn't actually really matter, because if the effort isn't there, you deserve better. So that's definitely a big red flag that I think people have the tendency to look over and like try and see like the best in someone.
Yeah. And in that situation, do you think it's best just to like look at that and understand maybe this person isn't interested in me? Or do you suggest them like asking point blank?
I think it depends where you are in the relationship. If it's in the first few dates, just move on. Like, chastising or interrogating this person on why probably isn't going to solve anything. But obviously, if you're in a committed relationship with this person and you feel like you deserve more and that their effort is dwindling, then, maybe they are really busy with work, or maybe they are dealing with something personally, and it's okay to work through that together, but that's a conversation to be had. You should not just accept the lack of effort and, then be like internally upset about it.
Let's talk about ghosting. You've shared some like really helpful tips for how to say something like maybe, so nice to meet you, but this isn't for me.
Yeah.
Thank you, as opposed to just going ghost.
Yes, and it's so, it's so common and it's so easy. I get it. People are so conflict adverse. We live behind these screens, so it feels really easy to just delete this person and never have to think about them again. And it's just, I'll admit it, when I was younger, I'm sure there have been people I ghosted and I regret it. I'm sorry. I apologize if I ever ghosted you. It's just so much more respectful to just say that you're not interested. And, there's even ways of saying it that, it doesn't have to be about that person, because it oftentimes isn't. It's not like you aren't what I'm looking for. It's like, I'm feeling like this isn't the right fit, or I'm going in a different direction, or I've met somebody else I want to explore things further with. You don't even have to give an answer, but just acknowledging that you respect them enough to say like, hey, this isn't for me, goes a really long way.
And what are some green flags to look for like in new dating?
Well, the opposite of the red flag would just be, again, effort.
Mhm.
Someone who's putting in the effort to communicate with you, to get to know you, to understand who you are, I think is really powerful. That can manifest in so many different ways, showing effort with somebody. But just putting in that time, holding that space, and wanting to know them, having that person want to know you deeper, I think is the ultimate green flag.
Yeah. Curiosity.
Exactly. Summed up in one word, it'd be like
Yeah.
curiosity.
And great communication is always a bonus.
And I think that's something, it's sort of a balance, because my clients tend to be more anxiously attached and sometimes can over communicate, but in the wrong ways. It's great to communicate on a date and hear somebody and see somebody and have interesting and introspective conversations. Like, that's great communication, but you don't need to be communicating by texting somebody who you barely know every single day and trying to get to know them over text. There's also there's a balance there of putting in effort and communicating, but at an appropriate level based on your relationship with that person.
How can partners balance their masculine and feminine energies, especially in situations where both individuals are high achievers?
That's an interesting question, and I think it really comes down to each relationship and what that each party wants and what works for them. And you can be a high achiever outside of the home but still show up in your feminine in the home if that's what both parties feel best with. So it's definitely about finding a balance, and then also understanding you can ebb and flow and be in more of your masculine or your feminine in different scenarios.
What are some tips you have for keeping it spicy once people are already in a relationship?
So I say this all the time, whether you're on your first or 40th date or 40th wedding anniversary, you should be dating your partner. So if you fall into the, just mundane, everyday work, come home, eat dinner, go to bed, work, it's of course both people are going to be bored. You should be going out of your way, just like you did, or at least you should be doing in the beginning, to plan new activities together. Do something that's going to make them smile. Think about the little things that your partner loves, whether it's like a treat or a flower that you bring for them, or giving them a head rub at the end of the night, whatever it may be, and incorporating some little aspect really every single day.
So, doing little things that are surprises, leaving notes.
Yeah, love that.
Love going to comedy or cooking class, dressing up, just keeping it fun.
Yeah, exactly. Going out of your way to make sure those
Yeah.
things are still happening.
Yeah. For our listeners who are single and looking to improve their dating game, what is one actionable takeaway?
Get out of your house more and leave your phone behind. So if you are going to you're like, oh, okay, I'm going to go to the park, I'm going to go to a concert, I'm going to get out of the house, but then you're head deep in your phone looking down the entire time, then you aren't, actually present, and you're not opening yourself up to connections. So look around, make eye contact, smile at people, talk to strangers, men and women. I look at everything from a men's lens, but women can and should also be approaching and talking to guys. My clients would love if a woman went out of their way to talk to them. So do that as well.
I always say, what's the worst that can happen if you go to a man and say hello?
Yeah, he's gonna love it, first of all. And that goes for men and women. Even if they don't end up being romantically interested for whatever reason, you are still going to make someone feel good by saying hello.
We're here on this planet to connect with one another.
Yeah.
It's a missed opportunity oftentimes.
Yeah.
What do you think the secret is for long-lasting love?
Yeah. I think it goes back to what we said before, is keeping it spicy, keeping it fun, continuing to date that person, knowing that you're both going to change over time, but that's okay, so long as you're open to those changes, both in yourself and in the person you're with.
Yeah, I think growing together, oftentimes people think they know someone. but we change so much as we go through life and go through different experiences. So to keep dating, to keep getting to know the person that you're with.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You have to, or it just doesn't work.
Blaine, what is next for you?
That's a great question. I have some things on the horizon, nothing I'm quite ready to announce yet, but just continuing to, work with clients, work with men, help more men reach their potential and meet awesome partners, and therefore help women find, awesome partners as well.
Yeah, and is there anything you'd like to leave our audience with today?
Yeah, I would say whether you're a man or a woman, the number one thing I would say, whether you're single, whether you're married, is put your phone down and look to connect with the people around you. Like you said, Lauren, we're on this planet to connect with other people. And I think in our day to day, that gets lost a lot as we're focused on our careers and work and in our screens. So if you do one thing today, go out without your phone, start up a conversation, make someone smile.
Oh, amazing. And where can our listeners find you?
Yeah, I'm Dating by Blaine, Blaine, on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Facebook. So easy enough. Find me there.
Thank you so much, Blaine.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.